Well, hey guys, today we're just hanging around the shop and looking for things to do, so we thought we'd do some shop talk and show you guys how to install or how we install RJ45 connectors on Cat6 cable for communications. Now normally I would say at this point we don't advise to do your own electrical work, as although we are electricians, we're not your electrician. However, where this is just simple communications cable or data cable, I think we're pretty safe to show you how we do it and make some recommendations. So stick around. Workings of the panel, we come in from that, our lines come down from the top. So we can slip that up in place and then we swag it here. Okay, so for this episode, what we're going to do is show you how to put a connector like that on a piece of Cat6, or commonly Cat5e or Cat5, which is now replaced by Cat6, which is a little faster. So it's an end that you would plug in for your Ethernet, or that you would plug in for your modem, or to simply make a connection to get Ethernet around your home or property. So what we're going to need is a punch down tool. This is a stripper, and this is the tool for crimping the connector on, and we also have a pair of channel locks. And then in addition, we're going to go with an A connection here today. So there's A connections and B connections. The most important thing is to understand the difference between the two. So with an A connection, like here in the picture that we're showing, as long as you get them the same on either end, so if you do an A on the RJ45 end, you need to do an A connection on the other end. If you do an A with a B, then it's not going to work. It's not going to transfer your data. So that's very important. And likewise, if you decide to go with an insert for a female end, you need to go with an A connection and an A connection on the other end, or a B and a B. So don't mix the two. These diagrams that I'm showing you here that I printed off are fairly simple to find on the internet. You can just Google it and it'll show you your A connection or your B connection for your RJ45. So these are RJ45 connectors. They have a little pin on the side, or a little push pin on the side, and then in the back your wires go in, and then the front they come through on this side, and that's what transfers your data. Your female connection, you can get these in a full plate, or you can get them in an insert to insert into a plate. They have the B connection marked right on the top, and then the A connection is marked on the side. So what we're looking at is taking some Cat6 transfer cable, and again this comes in Cat5, Cat5e, and now Cat6, and the Cat6 is a little bit faster speed for transfer. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to clip this old end off of here. I'm going to pull this up close, and we're going to take our side cutters and we're going to clip off the end nice and flush. So we have an end that looks just like that. So the next thing we need to do is to strip the wire back. One thing I should mention, guys, when you're picking up your RJ45 connectors, make sure they are actually rated for Cat6 and not Cat5 or Cat5e. And we've learned this the hard way over the years. Cat6 is a little larger in conductor, so if you don't have the proper end or the proper RJ45 connector, it won't sleeve or push all the way through for you to make your connection. So it can get quite difficult. Anyway, back to this. So we're going to take our set of strippers, and this can be done with really any set of strippers, but it's very important not to scun any of the wire or pull on it too hard to fracture or break it. So these actual purpose strippers are what we use. So we're going to take a few inches off the end of this wire. We're going to spin it, and that will make a nice clean sever. And then we're going to inspect the part where we stripped the wire to make sure we didn't put any burrs on it, or we didn't hurt the wire in any way, because that's what we don't want. So as you can see, there's a couple little straggly things off of here. This is the center support to give the cable more structure, or give the cable itself more support, and then there's a couple of little fiberglass hairs hanging off of here. So we're going to go ahead and take our side cutters and cut those out, being careful not to damage the conductors themselves. Okay, so now we have four sets of 2 or 8 wires in this thing, and they're squiggly, so we need to separate them. Use the word squiggly. They're coiled around each other, and this helps transfer the data a little faster. So we have to open these up and straighten them up to get them in the end of the RJ45 connector. If we don't do that, then it's going to be terrible to get them in. And this is the most finicky part of putting one of these ends on. Okay, so we have our ends stripped apart, and I'm going to bring this in a little closer so we can see it here. We have our ends stripped apart, and now we need to straighten these as much as possible. So we're going to use our hand just to sort of get them straightened out, and then in addition to that, I usually take a flat edge with a rounded part on it that's not sharp, and then I'll pull the conductor across that a few times to help straighten them out, to get as many of the crinkles as we can out of the conductor, or out of the conductors, because it makes it easier to put them on. So once we get them straightened out, then we need to sort them. So as you can see, for an A connection, we're going to go with these colors here: green, white striped, green, orange, white striped, blue, blue, white striped, orange, brown, white striped, and brown. So with leaving these conductors longer like this, it makes it easier for us to line them up. So we're going to start with our green, white stripe. And this is where you really need to pay attention, because sometimes these wires are hard to see the colors on, especially with the stripes. So we're going to take the green, white stripe over, and then we're going to take the green over. And we're going to try to line these all up the best we can. The next is going to be our orange, white. Sometimes that gets confused for brown, white, so that's really important that you get that correct. And then we're going to go with our orange. So as we're doing these, we can hold these with our finger, our index and our thumb finger, just to make sure they stay in line and sort of get squished together as we're doing it. Next, we're going to go with the blue, and then we're going to go with the blue white as per the diagram, and then a brown white, not to be confused for sorry, I've got this messed up here. So we're going to do this again. So we're going to go the green, white, the orange, white, and then the blue. See how easy this can happen if you're not paying attention? So we have to go by that diagram or it's not going to transfer data. And chances are, if you do your connection up and at the end you're not transferring data, then you usually have it wrong. So this is really important. So again, green, white, green, orange, orange, white, blue, blue, white, orange, and then brown, white, and brown. Now we're going to get these all lined up, and we're going to just sort of push them together a little bit. So we have a couple of inches here to work with. Now, the most important part of this is to clip the end of them off even if you want to get them into the connector. So you can do that with your tool, or you can do that with your side cutters. If you're going to do that with your side cutters, then you're going to want to get straight across just to make sure that they're all lined up. You're going to want to try to get those as close as you can together and have a good look at them. Now you see, just by me doing that, that jumbled them around. So I've got to make sure that I keep them where they need to be. Now the connector itself, as you can see from the diagram, this little part on the bottom of the connector here, the clip-in part, needs to be facing down. There we go. So you can see how finicky that was when I was pushing that through there. It's extremely important to get that through. So what we're going to do is we're going to shove back on it and almost bring the insulation up to the end of the connector here. And now we're going to check our connections coming through. This is important. So we're going to go again, green, white, green, and then we're going to go orange, white, blue, and then we're going to go blue, white, orange, brown, white, and brown. So now we know that the connections are in there correctly. we have the connector point on the bottom that hooks the RJ45 connector into the Ethernet port, and we have double checked our connections as per the diagram for an A connection. So now we're going to crimp this down. So what we need to do, we can use our tool to crimp these off flat, or we can use our side cutters, and in many cases some of you guys might not have the right tool. So we're going to shove these in here as far as it can go, line these up, and we're going to cut the end off flush across. We're going to leave a little more than 1/8 of an inch. We're going to snip it off. And then what we're going to do is pull back on the connector or the insulation, and that's going to just line those holes up at the end right there, you see? So it wants to be flush, but the insulation still needs to be inside the connector. So once you've done that, you're good to go. Just make sure your ends are all lined up right there. And then we're going to take our crimping tool, go into our 8-pin, which shoves in, check the end that the wires aren't sticking through, and we're going to crimp it down. So now that has applied pressure, and that is not coming apart. That is stuck inside, and those connections are done right. So we've pretty much confirmed everything before we've gone any farther with this process. Now the next step of this is to take the end of our cable and put another end on it. So we're going to pretend we're going to make this quite short. So we can either put another RJ45 connector on, for example, if you wanted to go from the back of the Ethernet port on your modem to say plug another device in, or directly into a computer or anything like that. Or if you want to go to a wall jack so that something can be plugged in later, which brings us to our female port end here, which we're going to show you how we do the connection. Okay, so again, we're going to take our strippers and we're going to strip, our stripping tool, and we're going to strip the end off of this to make it a little easier to work with. Now this end is a little easier to work with because it's marked right on the actual jack itself. So we're going to go ahead again and remove the piece of plastic in the middle, which helps add support to the wire so it doesn't bend, or the cable, and then cut that little piece out of there. And we're going to go to our 4 connectors now, our 4 sets of conductors. So now we're going to take our pin connector, and I'm going to see if I can zoom in here a little closer. Now on our pin connector, the end's going to come off, and we're going to look at the side of this, and it's going to say an A connection. So you can see TS568A, and it's going to show green, green, white, blue, 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 white, and then on the other side, orange, white, orange, brown, white, brown. And that's the configuration that you have to put it into these pins on the top. Inside is a B connection, so you don't want to use that B connection because it won't work with the other end of this A connection that we've done over here. So we're simply going to sit it down flat. Now there is a tool that you can get to sit these in, but for the purposes of this video, we're just going to show you. So we're going to untwist our pairs and get them ready. Okay, so the first side we're going to do is the orange side over here. So we're going to go with our orange white and then our orange. So we're going to want to line the connector up the best we can without fumbling it around. And we know our green and blue are going to go on the other side, and our brown and our orange white are going to go on this side. So we're going to start with our orange white on the back. I'm going to stick that connector in there and shove down on that, and then we're going to stick the orange into place, and we just generally have to get them in the area. You can see here I have orange and orange white, and then we're going to do brown white and brown, shoving down on that so we can get it cramped in there. Now we're going to take our Klein punch down tool. So this punch down tool has an end on it specifically for these ends, and you're going to need one of these, guys. You can't just push these down with a knife or anything else, because it's just, a lot of people will try that method and it just doesn't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick that into the end, and that's going to push those right down into place. And when you push on them, usually do it 3 times, it shoves the conductor and pinches it between the 2 metal points down where it's supposed to be. And sometimes we have to do these a few times to make sure. And as you can see here now, that is down in, right inside of where it should be. Now some of these tools have that you can cut the ends off. We just go ahead and crip them off with our side cutters. And then we're going to move over to the other side. So on this side you can see we have our blue, white, and our blue. So we're going to stick our blue into place. We're going to stick our blue, white into place. We're going to stick our green, white into place. And we're going to stick our green into place. And then we're going to crimp down or use our punch down tool on the other side. So you can see this one little side has a lip on it. This is getting wore out, but that used to cut the conductor off at the end. It doesn't anymore, so that's why we have to use our side cutters. So we're going to push that down into place. And then we'll just give a shove on these here in the middle to make sure they're sort of in where they need to be. And then we're going to go over these again, just to make sure they're in here. Then we're going to take our side cutters and snip the excess off. And then we have this wonderful piece that goes on the top that holds everything, or helps hold everything into place, and this needs to be lined up. So that just gets pushed down on the top and clips into place. There you have it. You now have an Ethernet port female adapter, which can be put into a wall jack or as part of a series of wall jacks. So there we have our finished end with our female on that end and our male on that end, and that's basically how we do Ethernet jacks, or running with Cat 6 and using the RJ45 connectors and the female ends. There you have it. That's simple, guys. That's it for today. Don't forget to hit that ring bell notification. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.